Did you catch our video about being behind in the Forrest Fenn box and feeling like, oh, did I get enough? We didn't get enough either. And because of that, we got an expert. We got the best expert. We got KPro. We're going to talk about There's Treasure Inside. We're going to talk about Maps Edge. And we can't wait to get started with tons of questions. I'm Emma.
I'm Jam.
I'm KPro.
That's right. We're so excited. KPro, they don't cut their videos. We're not going to cut our videos. So if you see glitches, we normally cut it out because sometimes Emma, she glitches. And if she does, we'll just wait till we unglitch.
Fun faces. Going. You're welcome.
Fun faces.
No cutting today. So,
no
so excited to have you on.
We really are.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I mean, I get to talk Forrest Fenn, blast from the past, and it kind of is also in the future, past and future. See what I did there?
I did.
I love it because it's all around you. And the reality is this, like when I've spent the last 2 weeks, because in all honesty, and I said this in our last video, Forrest Fenn was going to be the last box we worked. And because this is coming out now, we have this Beyond the Map's Edge, and we have There's Treasure Inside. I'm like, we got to catch up. We're behind.
We are.
And we're not about that lifestyle. And so,
and so much of it is now gone. We had Chase Chat, the forum's gone. Thor is now gone. Dale's site is now gone. So it's hard to patch together what was happening at the time because so much of the archive is gone.
Right. Yeah, well, and there's a lot out there. BuzzFeed, 48 Hours, Today's Show, The New Yorker. Gosh, The New Yorker. Oh my gosh, Cynthia in The New Yorker. He makes fun of me. Jam makes fun of me. He says, I have a little girl crush on Cynthia, but I'm telling you this, she made Forrest human for me. So a man who's gone, who did a great thing, Cynthia made human, and so did Justin. They made him human for me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I've got to find them and talk to them and hug them. I mean, it was crazy. But let's get to the hard-hitting questions. Are you so excited for this new Justin Posey Maps Edge hunt?
I didn't think I would be this excited. I was so excited about JCV's hunt, and I'm right in the middle of past and future. We have a solve, but we can't get to it because of the snow.
Yeah. And so then much
snow. Snow, go away. But now that this one's coming out, I mean, and the Netflix piece and my friends being in Netflix, knowing I know all the people that are involved in it, or I should say, I think I know most of them. I met most of them. I call some of them my friends, kind of thing. Between all of that, I mean, you can't get better. And so we went several years between Forrest and the Forrest ending and then where we are at now. And it's like drinking from a fire hose. We have so much going on, let alone a small hunt. I'm working on 3D's hunt right now. I'm going to take off right after here, and I'm finding it. So I'm all in good fun, but we have more hunts.
And your daughter helped you with that one? Is that what happened? Your daughter helped you with that one?
I finally got her involved, and she cracked something at 11:30 at night. She's like, let's go. And I'm like, we cannot go 11:30 at night. So she's got the bug, which is great.
She's got the bug. Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, you're literally breeding hunters. I love this.
Yes.
Yeah.
We wanted to do the Forrest Fenn box, right? But the problem is we feel like it's 15 years ago, right? So people like you and experienced treasure hunters, they have so much experience. They've already know the area, the sites, the laws, the rules, the everything. I'm surprised you're not looking at this box, right?
I feel the opposite, because here's the thing. If you were involved in the hunt when it happened, it launched in 2010. I got involved in 2016. It was found in 2020. So everyone that I think that is Forrest Fenn, you may have an advantage not being a hunter because you're already within your preconceived notions. I know several people working on that box saying, well, I thought the home of brown meant the fishing regulations in New Mexico. So that must be what John believed. And I think it's in New Mexico because of that. Some people say, oh, no, I know it was Brown's Canyon in Colorado, so that it has to be Brown in Colorado. So they have the preconceived notions, and we didn't agree back then. We don't agree now. We agree that our spot is right. That's the only thing I think we can reach consensus.
That's the most common theme in all hunters that I've met so far is people get so addicted to their salt. It kind of blows my mind because I say all the time, I think you say it all the time. I know Jim says it. If there's no box in your hand, you don't actually have a solve, right? You have an idea of the potential of a solve. And we're actually going to coin a new word on Monday. and it's going to be funny. We're talking about the Forrest Fenn box, and we'll put it out there. You will of course laugh because you're like us about this. It's like you can't be definitive in treasure hunting. Treasure hunting is the least definitive thing you will ever do until you're holding it, and then all of a sudden you're actually a treasure finder instead of a treasure hunter. And then, I mean, I'm almost going to be a pirate. I'm tempted to wear a patch and everything. I'm going for it, full blown. The big hat, the patch. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to rock it. Okay, let's ask another great one. What the heck is up with all the poetry? Why are they doing this to us? We're like,
there's really two things. One, poem. Two, memoir. And those are the two that seem to be the common theme between all three.
Well,
maybe
even 3D, right? He did a poetry.
Yeah, JCB did, Justin did, Forrest did. It's an ode to Forrest. I could just say maybe you want to be something that you're not. Like, I'm a desk person, I teach, and I'm a treasure hunter. Maybe they're this adventurer and they want to be a poet. I don't know why, but it happens. And maybe it is a road
I'll
to
pay
Forrest.
$50 extra per book in the future for no poetry.
No poetry.
$50 extra. You want to charge $102 a book and there's no poetry in there? I'm like, I'll take 6. I'll take 6. That's how I feel about that. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, we have to go take an English class, Jam, because both of us really sucked in high school in English.
We are not poets. So we are researching poetry. I know more about poetry now than I ever have my whole life. So.
And for me, if I'm honest, cryptograms, word searches, I'm like, what is this skill set? Who needs this? It's crazy. But for you, who's seen poetry before, did you have to do stuff like that to kind of get prepared when you jumped in 2016?
No, a lot of people did. And I went down that rabbit hole for a while, like the number of stanzas, the number of syllables, if it's I don't know all the different terms of a poem.
We don't either. And ChatGPT doesn't either, just so you know.
Yeah, the only thing that really became important was the capital B for Brown and Forrest. The number of, and did it rhyme versus not rhyme at the certain part? That didn't seem to be, well, at least for Forrest, that wasn't a part of the solve. Does that mean that's going to be that way for Justin or any other hunt? Maybe not. Maybe it is a part of it. Maybe it's not. But I'm not going to spend time going. If I need that, I'm not going to get the gold.
I mean, I'm with you. I won't get the gold, but I'm okay if the three of us want to jump back on like a beret wearing poetry reading at a later date just to laugh about our inability to read poetry, because I'm in for that.
Yeah. I'm taking the words literally. They just happen to be in a rhyming mechanism. That's how I'm taking it. So I'm not taking it as like a pure poet, poetry 324, the history of poetry in a university kind of thing. That's for me.
Well, where I have luck is that I read words. My job really, what I do is my job is to see what you're not saying when you're saying something and seeing what you really mean when you say something. So words can be very helpful to me because I'm trying to read between the lines. And most of what I do now because of COVID is not in person. It's almost all over the phone. So when I'm reading something, I can kind of drill down and be like, oh my gosh, these words have so much value and this does and this doesn't. So when I read Justin's poem, I felt like I could identify with Justin's poem a little bit better actually than JCB's. Because in JCB's poem, I think that both of these are maps. Both poems are maps. But in JCB's poem, I keep going back and forth. Is he trying to lead you to where he wanted it to be? Or is he just trying to lead you to a spot he wants or he hid the treasure? Because they could very clearly be different places, right?
Well, and I think the poem structure may not be as important, but words are. That whole etymology, the history of the word, what are different meanings, wordplay. I think that's what it's all about. And that's the hard part if you can't hone in on which direction to go. Like Home of Brown, was it a structure? Forrest said, nope, it's not a structure. So all the people that, once he said that in the Forrest hunt, either people said, no, Forrest is just giving us a red herring. I'm keeping my structure no matter what. Or they went, okay, no structure. I need to reset. So I'm hopeful there'll be hints along the way if we get stuck, but I think Justin's is going to be a tough one. It's going to be complex, in my opinion.
Right. Well, you've been right about a lot. Sorry, Jim, go ahead.
I was just saying that's the thing is there's so much Browns in Colorado alone. There's Brown's Cave, there's Brown's Mine, there's Brown's Canyon, there's Brown. Everything's Brown out there. So you don't have to answer this, but what was your Brown part of the solve?
Well, so over the 4 years, I
Mm-hmm.
had 3 solves.
Okay.
Ojo Caliente, which had the correct WWWH, but I went the wrong way. I went literally south because it's canyon down, but actually down was north, downstream. I went down directional. So I was in the general area, but I was not close enough. I was a couple miles away for my
That's
first
close.
it was
I mean,
it, but
come
I just
on.
kept thinking it's illegal to be in the park, so I must have it wrong.
Right.
And
Right.
unfortunately, Forrest didn't care about that. He put it in a legal spot, and so Homa Brown, gosh, oh Caliente, Canyon Down. Was it the guy? So there was a geyser there, the Oh Caliente geyser, and it had a row of brown rocks that went around it. And then I also thought it could be brown trout because that's where the trout come through.
Right.
So brown trout, and it ended up being brown trout, literally a fish named Brown. But anyway, so I had a couple different. Again, it's one of those I built in the answer without really trying to think through the literal parts of it. So.
Except you literally missed one literal piece. That's it. I mean, think about how much you did that got you to that spot.
Yeah.
Like that's
well, and to be fair, my brother called me. I had not been ever treasure hunting. My brother is a gold panner, kind of big mountain guy, and he's like, "You need to come with me, boots on the ground for a treasure." I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about? Why are you calling me? I'm at work." And he's like, "No," he's like, "I need you to come to Yellowstone." And I'm like, "Why would you pick me? I'm not a hiker. And he said, because I trust you. I need someone I can trust. If I pick up $1 million, it's going to be with you. And that's when I emailed Forrest and we got to be friends and things. But it was really, he started me in that area and he had done research, but he was over another area, another mile out. I told him I can't make it another. I'd already gone a mile. I knew Forrest had already told me not to go more than a mile. So he just kept going. And I'm like, I said, "Aren't you afraid of bears?" He's like, "No, I know I can run faster than you, so I'm good." I'm like, "Great."
Sounds like us.
Yeah. So he's the one that started me on it, but he got out of it. He checks in from time to time and says, how's all the treasure hunting stuff? I'm like, "It's on fire now." Like
it's on fire.
It's on fire. Yeah. And you were right about 2 huge things. I want to talk about this because when the very first live we went, when you thought about the trailer, do you remember when we were talking about the trailer in your first live and you're like, I think they're going to drop hints that there is another treasure hunt coming. And everybody's like, oh, no. Not everybody, but several people were like, not going to happen. It'll never happen. And then you're like, it's logical to me. And I was like, did she just say logical? She did. Yeah. It is logical. And then what happened? There's a treasure hunt announced.
Right. Yeah. Well, I get a little hesitant.
Website goes up. You knew.
Yep. Well, and I get a little hesitant in saying because some people will pick, "Oh, you were wrong," and then they go berserk, and it's like it's okay to be wrong. But so I just decided this is the restart. I really thought there's no way if it is going to be in Netflix. I have a marketing background. From a marketing perspective, you don't hide your biggest benefit to a customer, which is there's also $1 million. Come watch this. And I just watched Beast Games, and Beast Games had all these hooks, and it's the hook. Yeah. So I thought for sure it would be if it was the case, but it was really based on, I call it the Hail Mary. I mean, it sounds so crazy. Yeah, they're going to embed it in Netflix. And then we got confirmation from Froggy, and it's in there. And so it's...
Well, and that's the second thing. You knew Justin was going to have clues in Netflix. You knew. You said it 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah. I think there will be clues. And everybody's like, no, KPro, you're so wrong. You're wrong. Yep. But here you are right again. I'm pretty sure you could say almost anything. I'm like, I know she's right. I know she's
we believe it.
And if you turn out you're wrong, guess what? I'll move on. It'll be okay. And I'll let it go.
Someone that we were talking about another subject of when we were going to get some of the closure we needed in the Forrest Fenn hunt. And there was a timeline put out. And it was, I said, okay, I don't think that timeline's going to be held to. You do, but let's not argue about it. Let's just both be adult enough when that timeline passes that we don't make excuses. We don't pretend that we didn't hear it. We don't get mad. We just kind of agree that one or the other was right. Unfortunately, that person's like, no, I never said that, that year later. And it's like, yeah. So yes, as long as we have function, and this is just fun. So if it didn't end up being Netflix episodes, hey, I look a little silly, but it's fun to think about. Now that it came fruition, I said it first, and I was right.
You did. Don't you worry. I will make sure everybody knows you said it. I talk about it all the time. I actually bring it up almost every show now.
Yeah.
KPro was right. But here's the thing. The reason why is this is look what you've done. Like when we joined, like we got this like inkling to do this January 1st. And then we jumped on Amazon and we ordered books, and it's like, okay, you'll get them in March. And I'm like,
Yeah.
patience
Ridiculous.
is not my strength. It is not my virtue. I will not be doing it. So I'm like, I'm just going to go on eBay and buy a couple. Just a couple on the eBay. And so I jumped on and I bought a couple on eBay, and then they both arrived. And then, oh gosh, bless his heart, Scott. I give Scott a book and I go mail this to Jam. I need him to have this 3-day priority. Send it USPS from this and this and this. And so he went to USPS. No, he went to UPS instead and just sent it regular. And it took 7 days for him to get it. So we didn't really get involved until I would say almost the 15th of January. Right?
Wow. Yeah. I didn't realize that late.
Yeah.
We're so late to this game. But your Discord, this world,
and your shows, your videos,
that you and a Cowlazar Mike, that Cowlazar Grad Adventure was the beginning of the start of something I never anticipated coming. I thought I'd go in there and I'd kind of talk a little treasure, and people would talk with me about a little bit of treasure, and that would be it. And I've made some amazing friendships, and I've learned to really think differently because of people, and that's something you guys built. Your Cowlazar's Grand Adventure is a huge place where it's very collectively accepting, and that's huge. That's huge.
Well,
and
I'll tell you the history behind that.
Yeah.
Please do, because I have no clue what a Cowlazar is.
Well, Cowlazar's, it's Cow, our last name, Cowling, so it's Cow, and then Bob Lazar's, the alien guy. Cowlazar's, because he's really into that, and Bigfoot, that's him. So that's how that name came about. That was his name before I knew him, and I didn't know him. I met him actually at Forrest's house. So that's how we met. But Forrest actually asked me, this was 17, 18 time frame. Some of the forums and websites and things were going pretty negative. There were some deaths, there was some Paco, a few of the things that were happening really kind of put people in a dark spot. And so he said, would you start a forum? And I'll give you some, words and things to put up on the site, but I really want a positive place that also really gets and stirs discussion. And I said, I'm not techie at all. That's Mike's thing. And so I'm like, and I didn't know Mike. So he asked me 2 or 3 times, and I finally just said, yes, I'll figure it out. So I hired an IT guy, and we made a forum, and it became just this huge. First, it was Dale's, and Dale's isn't around anymore, but it's like one of those traditional, you post an article and people can put comments on the bottom. Not really searchable, really hard, and very heavily moderated. I only posted there. It was the go-to site, but I posted there once a WWWH clue in the Canyon section, and they're like, you will be banned if you do this again. It was just very regimented. If you posted in the wrong spot, you could be banned, let alone there wasn't a lot of diversity of thought. So I said, okay, we're going to be all inclusive, but positive, but conflict is okay as long as we keep it functional debate. We don't go personal, we don't curse, we don't. So it thrived, but then there was this transition from the forums. We had almost 40 tubers on the Forrest Fenn hunt. We actually made a schedule amongst ourselves every single night of the week. We were Mondays and Thursdays from 6 to 7. There was a group that did an after show from 7 to 8. There was a Gypsy's Kiss that was, it was Wild Wednesdays and Fridays. And we all scheduled time together. And there was literally a tuber on live every night of the week, at least 2 of them. And we would, coordinate and move stuff around. And it was fantastic. And then there was tons of tubers that didn't go live because you have to build up, your numbers to get there. And then this transition moved to Discord. This was only in the last maybe 2 years. I think our Discord is even a year old. And it has really helped instant discussion. Like the breaking news was on YouTube. It's not anymore. The breaking news is on Discord, and we kind of round up with YouTube. So it's really interesting from a social perspective, the social media groups and how they've evolved over time.
Wow.
Yeah, that is so true, because you see it now, and it's actually funny. Gypsy Kiss is still doing it. I still see their videos out, but it's on TikTok. There's people that go live on TikTok and talk about this on TikTok.
We're so bad
Obviously
at TikTok,
YouTube,
KPro. We are so bad at TikTok.
Instagram,
right
X.
now,
Mhm.
right now, I am telling you, John, and I'm telling you, Justin, I didn't even have Facebook before the Forrest Fenn hunt. I had no social media. I had one for my work, but they required us to post the one post one of the crazy people got. But anyway, so that's actually how I was found. But anyway, I have no social media. Now between Discord, I don't even go to Facebook anymore. I don't go to any of it. I refuse to get on TikTok, and I refuse to get on Twitter. Mike tells me when something's posted because they want us to get out. And then now we have all these social media platforms. I don't have Insta. I don't have TikTok. I got Twitter, and I'm following only Justin. But then I'm like, I am refusing. I don't want, because once you get social media, like I have to check Discord every day because I feel I won't be up to date otherwise. I don't want 3 other platforms to try to follow.
It's a lot.
You can't stay up on your own Discord. It goes so fast. It's like I actually this last week
the rooms.
I took off for this last week. I took a break. We've been going hard trying to find spots and do this. So I took a whole week off. So I haven't even been in the Discord. And now I go in there and look, and it's just like pages on pages. I'm like, I'm just gonna start.
Well, I don't know how you guys do. I can only do one box at a time because I feel like jack of all trades, master of none. So I have to focus because I do read almost everything in the Discord. I try to keep up on some of the other social medias, and I have a search partner for that one. So we talk, and I can't keep up with, or I feel like I can just barely keep up with one, let alone if I was working on 2 or 3 boxes. I'm really worried about I'm only sticking with past and future, and then I'm moving to Justin's. Those are going to be the 2. And I said the opposite.
I have to ask this. So you won't work any, there's Treasure Inside at all once you come off past and future?
Well, kind of. So here's what I was.
You're like, ooh, great
it's
area.
like it's an it depends. So when we first heard about this, I told Mike, if you look back on our videos, you're not even allowed to read any part of the book except for Forrest Fenn. And then I saw the Forrest Fenn, and it was a poem. Poems are challenging at times. So I saw the word search. So I thought I can at least put my teeth into that. So I will say when a box is found, I want to see the solution. If the solution is something that makes sense to me, and someone's like, how can you judge JCB? I'm not. I am judging myself and whether I want to opt into more hunts. Right. There are particular puzzle creators that I can't figure their stuff out. But if it's a solid solution and makes sense, I may jump into another box. But right now, I'm going to stay past and future, which I'm really on hold for because TTI really isn't launched when it comes to, if you believe it's in Tahoe or any area of snow, you have a book, you have a puzzle, but you don't have the ability to retrieve it yet per John. So once that frees up, I will be able to go. But I just hear they got another round of snow. So, it's going to be probably late June. Yeah. So
our sister snowboards up in Tahoe literally weekly. And she gives us absolute reports, and she's like, you don't see anything. And we have a spot, one of our spots in Tahoe doesn't have a ton of snow, but if you're gonna hunt, you need to go be able to hunt.
Right.
And so I think right now I'm debating coming out in the middle of May and going for a few days and meeting up and doing that then. But I will tell you, I passed and futured this morning here in North Carolina. I went to, and I'm glad to share it because we're going to talk about it this week. But I went to a place called Stacks Trail because of the stacks in Oasis, right?
Oh, okay.
And it was a lot, but I might have to go back. I did almost fall off of the top of a rock into a ravine.
Yeah.
Thanks. Don't do that.
Careful.
That's what I get for looking in all the in-between.
You got to be safe out there.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is, and this is part of the reason I'm not going to judge and say he's terrible, but there's been some pieces that are challenging about this hunt, like books being delayed for a couple months. And I think we just did a show where we kind of honestly talked pros and cons, but the grid searching is tough. When we were in Van Sickle between Tower 11 and 12, I just thought, the over under in between was the overlook and under the gondola. That
Right.
area was about a football field. That took us 5 hours, and I easily thought we could have missed it. So having a general area isn't as ideal as it would be to have an exact spot.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, that's another one.
You're
So it
100% right.
depends if I don't see like, oh, I would have made that connection or that hip makes sense or whatever. I'm more excited probably about hearing the first solution to JCBs because then I'll know, do I opt in more? Do I double down? Do I move totally over to Justin's? That it'll be interesting.
I mean, we have an advantage that we have a group. Like, so it's, you see Jam and I, but there's people working in the background. Like we talk about Scott all the time, mostly because you'll see like his orange hat go by in a video or like, and he's Mr. Grid Search and he, man, like he, you know, they say, leave it as you found it. He's like, okay, mostly I'm ripping this rock open. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
puts
put
it
that back
back.
in the same spot.
He does.
He does. He like, he will, he like jumped in this, oh my gosh, this rock today and like got all up in underneath this rock because I can't, well, I mean, like I said, I almost fell off of a rock into a ravine, but I also like, I can't bend as well right now. I can't kind of get as agile under there because I went into that mine. I do all that stuff. I'm not afraid to do it. My body's just like, take a minute.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's like, there's a lot, right? And we're always about, I think the most important thing you just said is you could be there, grid search it and still miss it. And so I think you cannot do JCB's book. It's my opinion, people. I don't want to be as definitive, but you cannot do JCB's book without boots on the ground. You can talk about it all day long, all day long, but you need to get boots on the ground, see your location, and then you've got to go back to your location. I mean, we went to Arkansas 3 weeks in a row. We live in North Carolina. That's not a short trip. Yeah. But we'll be back in Arkansas in April because I think that there's some very valid I'm going to say this to you because it's you, and I'll tell you probably everything if you ever ask me. We're actually debating, and Jim's going to laugh at me, renting a Winnebago, starting in Statesville and driving to Houston.
That'd be awesome.
Let's just stop along the way and checking different spots. We're debating that. That could be coming in the next couple weeks. Yeah. Because why not?
Right.
Why not?
Right.
And
if you can, absolutely. And that's where I have some flexibility. Unfortunately, and when you were talking about a team, so Mike is the tech guy for me. He's the code guy for me. He knows all the ciphers and finds that entertaining. Like I can do it. I just would rather put needles in my eyes. So between that and then he also holds down the fort. He has a traditional 8 to 5 in the office. So, and we have 4 kids and a dog and 2 cats and everything that all life as well. So I have a lot more flexibility. And Cynthia, actually, Cynthia is the most busy retired person. We have to work around her schedule a little bit. But for the most part, I can go in a day's notice. So, and maybe a couple days.
Don't be surprised if we call you and be like, hey, I've got points. Do you want to fly out and meet us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's
the kind of people we are. Be like, are you busy? Do you want to come fly? You want to go look at this spot with me?
The Pokemon box is going to be the only one you could find right now because there's no snow for that box, most likely.
Unless that's why we pivoted. In North Carolina. Unless past and futures in North Carolina. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there that it's possible. The original Gold State is North Carolina. The original Gold State.
I can't tell you no. I don't have a box.
I could be wrong. But
not the state of gold.
Grandmother and Grandfather Mountain, where cars were going by.
It's not very heavenly. Just saying. So anyway,
there was nothing. You want to know what's heavenly? The beautiful skies staring down at me. We're so.
It's not as heavenly as heavenly.
Okay, that's a solid point. It's not as heavenly as heavenly.
Do you have car tools there? No, you don't. Sorry, just pointing that out. So.
I don't. I also don't have the big lawn chair thing. I actually don't. I don't hate the Tahoe solve. I really don't. I really love it actually, and I just think that as we work through it, and I think you agree with me, and I think you agree with me that as we work through it, you're right. We have to find a box. And then we're going to start to understand, John. But I'm going to work Forrest Fenn and the map sedge at the same time when I work it.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's the way to do it. Kind of hit dough. I mean, I don't think they're anywhere near each other. I don't think that, but I don't know. Okay, here's an actual question. Go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to bring it back to Forrest Fenn, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask the question. If you were just starting, knowing what you know, what's the thing that you think people need to know about Forrest Fenn as they're looking at both of these books?
So I would say for what I have seen with TTI, the Forrest Fenn poem, I think John has been very clear. It was in one of the 4 search states that I was searching for the Forrest Fenn box. Some people think he's been ambiguous, so they're searching in other regions of the country. I think he's been very clear. So I think we need to take him at face value. And he says, I started this poem where heavy loads are, where I was actually searching. So the thing
I've seen that video.
So now we need to put ourselves in John. The one thing that I don't think I did as much, even though I did have a good solve and it was right where they did fish, we need to think like John. What would John have anticipated his heavy loads to be?
Right.
I believe he's a skier. Is he going to be in an area that, like I have a solve in Colorado, that I think it could be near a ski area with some of the words that he said and that sort of thing. Right. So I would say, I would not go with any one particular solve in the forest hunt, because I don't think John went by consensus. So John had a unique solve. There's no way for us to know what that is. So I would just not complicate it, because it sounds like he didn't complicate it for the poem. For the rest of the chapter, there might be additional things that make it a little bit more honed in, because the one huge disadvantage that the Forrest Fenn poem did is, yes, it had a warm waters, it had a canyon down, etc., but it didn't exclude there was a lot of solves that fit the very ambiguous poem. We all thought there was a way to just narrow it to that one location, and it didn't. There were thousands that literally had a warms water, then it had it all, and it fit nicely. I think John's going to overcome that. So I think there needs to be more confirmers. That I think he learned from Forrest, and that was the bad, if you will. And again, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking, but I think there's going to be something more. So understand in general, like what happened with the Forrest Fenn, like, okay, heavy loads, a lot of people thought were big boulders. Heavy loads was where you actually go over the water because the loads of the water. You can know in general. So like some basic solves just to understand kind of what context there was. But I actually wouldn't focus as much on how did the hundreds of thousands of people that still to this day say that they had the right location, other than the person that actually, and he said he failed. He had a wrong solve. If we can figure out what was wrong about it, what his heavy loads are,
right,
and then just follow it along.
And when he says too that he really tried to get in Forrest's mind. Like that tells me the kind of person John is. So then, like, are you inviting us to get into your mind?
Or are we supposed to get into Forrest Fenn's mind of JCB's mind inside his mind? So it's very confusing.
Yeah, and I don't know on that one, because I think there's not any absolute themes in the book that I would say, like Forrest love was fishing, and he says the last time I fold my tackle box, my spirit's going to be at 9 Mile Hole to meet Shiloh and little Sam, his grandkids. I don't think we have something as obvious as that. Looking back, it wasn't obvious in Forrest Fenn Hunt. Now looking back on his words, it's like, oh, he made it so obvious. I don't know what that. It's a good question. I'm taking it, John didn't know that the fishing solve was the right solve. So what did John think would have drawn Forrest to the particular spot in the Rockies? Could it be up in Yellowstone and he kind of figured it out, but not the right spot? Or was he more down in Colorado?
Right.
I don't know.
There's a lot of hot springs that run into cool waters, and it's like every state has that, So it's like
there's a guy, he's around now. He's come back. His name's Minotaur Marino, and he created a database of every geyser. And I think it was in all the states, but I know when Wyoming came up, literally you could go to this and see the temperatures. And when I just remember, and he shared it, which he was so nice. He shared it just to say, so this can help you narrow down if you believe a geyser is WWWH. So it was super helpful. And that's what I mean about this community. We're sharing more than ever at a whole different level for TTI than I ever saw in the Fenn Hunt. So.
Well, and even then John said he didn't expect that when he was on the Unofficial. He said he never anticipated, and that's I keep saying it's a testament to what you guys have done. You created a culture where all these people have come, and this boom, treasure hunting is having a boom right now, right? and between TTI and now you have the Maps Edge, like it's grown bigger than ever. And you guys contributed this huge thing to that. I think it's huge.
Well, here's my confirmation bias. The first time John said, I think it was the sports cards interview, and that was filmed in late December, whichever one it was filmed in late December. And they asked him, when do you think a box is going to be found? And he said, I thought it would take a few years, but people are crowdsourcing and sharing so much on Discord. I'm now thinking it might be more quickly. The only thing that was really being discussed, like a lot of detail, was the word search. So I'm thinking he's referring to past and future. That's why it's in Tahoe. John said so.
Yes.
See how I jumped? I jumped.
Listen, I'm not going to challenge you. You've already been right so many times.
Yes.
Okay, so, but
no, it's probably confirmation bias, but I think that confirms Tahoe.
We like
we're
biases
really
here.
good at confirmation bias.
Yeah.
You're in good company. We're great at confirmation bias and location bias. We're really good with location bias as well.
Yeah. It's amazing what you have built, though. This community, and nobody expected it, right? That we all just come together.
Mike started it. Mike started in
Good on Mike. Love Mike.
2015, and he was doing some small hunts, and he used to have a coffee mug. He never went live ever. He had a coffee mug. He did 10-minute videos, and he would take his coffee to whatever it was on the book or the map, and he would say, here's my WWWH. What do you guys think about this, or whatever it was? And it was like that was like he's 9 years in. So that would be 2016. We didn't meet till 2018. His first live wasn't until 2018 or 19. So it's so funny just how things have evolved. So anyway.
That's crazy. Okay, but let's go back to the question, because you talked about the TTI. What about Maps Edge? How do you think your history with Forrest Fenn is going to help you or hurt you with Maps Edge?
So my opinion here, Maps Edge is going to have less of a connection to the location based on Forrest, because we have, I don't know Justin super well. I've met him a couple times. I've conversed with him some on the phone and emails and that sort of thing. So I won't say he's a close personal friend, but he's not a stranger. I know a little bit about him. So knowing that, like, look at the trailer. He's inventing X-ray vision. He invented the Fast Pass for Disneyland. Like he did the Star Wars animatronics in Orlando at Disney World. Like that, he has and he collects meteorites and is a fly fisherman. So I think it's going to be an ode to Forrest because it's going to be about his passions, but I don't think it's going to be an ode to Forrest putting it in a Forrest spot. Like, I don't think necessarily it's going to be in one of the 4 search states. He's already not said that. So I think the same idea, though, you need to get to know the man. That's why the memoir is going to be really interesting.
Absolutely.
I'm a little worried it's going to be too complex because I know how smart he is. He was telling me, I said, well, what do you worry about in the Fen hunt? This was when the Fen hunt was going on. He's like, well, I've written a code that if I put my laptop in front of Forrest and he looks at and put a map out, wherever his eyes go, I can actually have that scanned and that could tell me the general location. And I worry that I'm not the only one with that technology. And so someone could like hack it.
Based somebody else had that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, you're smart at a level that I don't even understand how that would work. Like, does it send lasers into your eyes, out of your eye? Like, I have no idea what's going on. But I just thought he is so like, oh, I wrote a code for this, or I wrote, or X-ray vision hasn't been invented ever. Justin's going to invent it. Can he make something simple enough for the general person? So that's the piece that I hope he does have the ode to Forrest. And I think he will. He's so thoughtful in everything he's done right now that it seems like he's prepared for it. But that's my only concern is advanced ciphers, too complex, that sort of thing. But I do think it'll be helpful to learn from, I think he has learned from Forrest, and that's going to be an ode to Forrest. He knows when it's been found. We all hated that in the Forrest Fenn hunt. Someone every week said that they found it. Just like TTI. They say they find it. We've already had
every week.
Finders. He's already overcome that. He has an errata list out immediately. Forrest didn't have any typos. Well, except for knowledge without the D. But anyway, there's things
not
that
bothered you for years though. No, not at all.
Well, I have a whole theory behind that, but I won't get into it. I think he is going to give his ode to Forrest by saying, you laid the foundation, and now I'm going to do something better in the structure and delivery. There were so, I mean, I appreciate it. I thought of Forrest like a friend, but I'm not shy in saying there were some issues with the hunt. There were some issues with the solve, being that it didn't exclude other things. So I think he's going to.
It's okay to be honest about that, though, right? Like,
not to some. The originator is a god, and you're not allowed to speak at all about gods in any negative way. And it's like, it's okay. We're all human.
I don't think it's negative. Just so you know, I don't think it's negative to acknowledge we're human. I think it's real to acknowledge we're human, and that we're gonna have typos. We're gonna accidentally say things. Froggy said something in our interview about how, and I think I mentioned this in one of your lives, is that he said in the interview that like somebody came to him and said, "Well, did you know that your solve actually came down to this? You did this and this and this, and it came down to this exact location." And he's like, "I didn't know that," because I think what hiders miss is that they know where it is. And sometimes what you don't think about is what you've said could have led people there unintentionally, because you don't think that people don't know because you just know. And I think that's one of the reasons.
Or you put clues that you don't think mean anything, but everybody else thinks they mean everything.
Oh, it's so important. And we've done that Mike called them Cowlazar's Grand Adventures. So he did about 5 hunts before he met me. Then we did some just small hunts, but we did this back and forth. We had a KPro versus cow, and then we did the invitation where we actually published a book. Until you've been on the other side, and ours was a tiny hunt, $3,000, $5,000, like all small amounts. But we had a few hundred working on it. And to see people solve things in a way that I never would have intended, some of the stuff I thought that was easy turned out to trip everyone up. The stuff that I thought was hard was solved first. Some people solve things in ways I didn't think was like, that's not how we intended it. We intended an anagram. No, they got it from a palindrome. It was just, it was crazy to see. And until you've had that practice, I wonder, like with John, I can tell you if I did a big hunt, it is so helpful to have that foundational knowledge of how you created the puzzle. Now, John does do game weekends. So I'm wondering if he does have that foundational knowledge based on that. But again, we don't know. So Justin, he went through it so much, maybe, but that's the one thing I worry about is I would have never intended some of the things, again, solved the way they did, exactly what you guys are saying.
Right. Well, and like we said last night when he was in your chat, I was like, I will interview you. Now I'm like, but I'm going to cover my eyes. I don't want the lasers to work on me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm working on a mind reader. So
Jack Stoof is the if you believe Shiloh and the family is the finder retriever of the treasure chest. He says he didn't find it through the poem. He found 2 interviews that Forrest slipped up. And then once he found that location, he backwards engineered from Madison Junction or from 9 Mile Hole, backed it up to Madison Junction, which I find fascinating. It was slip ups in interviews.
Yeah. I think that's huge. And I think that's one of the reasons John is trying to have, like, he's interviewing again, and we've reached out to him to see if we can interview him. We haven't heard back yet. That's fine. We'll get there. But I think that one of the issues is, and that's one of the reasons he's doing American history for the bulk of his you control the flow of your data through the person who will make sure that your data is out correctly. I think that that's brilliant and slick, right?
He's very practiced in how he answers questions. He's probably prepared hundreds, of questions on how to answer without giving away clues. While
we've got a hard one for him though. Jim, ask it.
Where's the box? Where's the box? That's my question. That's my number one question.
With that one hard.
I think he'll answer it.
I think he'll answer. I think he'll say, here's the GPS coordinate, go.
The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a hold of Justin and say, I need you to watch him. And then I'm going to say, Tahoe, Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina. And then I'm going to be like, Justin, what did you see? What did you see, man?
Well, there is a person in the community. I don't know if he's watching, but he is a licensed, trained, certified body language expert. Yeah. And he did a lot of that for the Forrest Fenn hunt. He actually, for the invitation, he wanted me to come on after it was found, but then asked me questions to see if he could figure out where it was before the location was actually revealed.
Right.
We could get a body language expert on John, and that's what people are going to do. They're going to do those types of things. So when John
you should
said,
have that person review, like, because what you need is me to tell you what to do, of course. You should have that person on one of your shows and just pick a few interviews and let them break it down for you. I hope if they're watching now, they
I'd
see
watch
my
it.
knees up against my chest and think her back hurts. That's what my body
Dave,
language is saying
Dave,
right
I'm talking to you, Dave.
now.
Dave?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get on there, Dave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on, Dave.
Yeah.
No, but it's what you guys are doing is awesome. So you think you'll ever do another big hunt, you and Mike together? Is that something maybe could be in the works?
You mean as an originator or as a?
We call it a hider, but yeah,
we call it a hider.
create, and I guess we need to learn words, Jim. We just are making stuff up as we go along. But
I like
No,
hiding because
hider's
I'm like a
fine.
hide and seeker.
we're
you
like
know?
we're
Yeah,
hiders
we
and seekers.
will. I can tell you the invitation to. I don't think you guys were in the community when the invitation was going on. It was actually about Justin and. Well, we changed all the names, but a guy that is remarkably like Justin, a guy that's remarkably like John, a guy that's Hooli. We did it like a parody on the community and made it a mystery. We left it a cliffhanger. The cliffhanger was ours came out mid last summer, and we actually left the cliffhanger when John walks in the room to make an announcement about his hunt. Well, you don't know it's his hunt. He's there to make an announcement. So we have to complete that story because people are like, what happened to this and what happened to that? Just the people in it. We are going to do, we think we've gotten our feet wet with smaller hunts, meaning 5,000. We may be doing a big hunt. We're going to work on being a treasure hunter this year, but maybe by next World Series of Fen, it may need to be the one after that. We're kind of gearing up for, I'll just say it will not be a 7-figure, we don't have that, but it won't be.
Maybe we'll help you get like somebody to put it up for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but
I don't either, but okay.
What if you find the lion's share box?
We love good sponsors. Sponsors.
If we find the lion's share box, Mike will want to take at least half of it and rehide it. I know him.
Wow.
I know him.
I love that.
Wow.
He's already been asking. We have some, like, my parents both have passed, and I have collections from them of coins and gold and silver and things. And he's like, whoa, what else can we take? And I was like, easy.
Yeah.
But
like, that's my mom's. Get away from my mom.
Yeah. Well, and the last hunt, and gosh, 3D bronze, and they won it, and Sean won it. And I was like, I'm okay them having my mom's ring. I'm okay that we have so much stuff because Mike's parents passed too, very similar timing. So we have, Mama Cowlazar, she had more jewelry. She had rings on every finger, you name it. And some of them are sentimental, but some of them aren't. So it's like, I mean, why not? It makes the coolest looking treasure. So we know we're going to do something. We don't know how big, but we feel now that we have about a dozen under our belt, but it would be hard. But we're thinking around that $50,000 range.
Wow.
Not over 100,000. You get all the crazies that are in like the hunts now, the big hunts now. So we wouldn't go over 100, but probably 50. But we got to save up a little, and we got to get it really. We have to get a really good story ending, and so many things are happening right now. I want it to wait a little because, like, if the first box is found, the first box is going to be found in the invitation. So anyway, it'll be fun.
That's huge. I was thinking, so like, let's talk for a second about when you guys do your I'm going to say it wrong. So is the convention you guys do in January, is that the Forrest Fenn World Series of Forrest Fenn? Is that what that is in January?
Yeah. So where it started was right after I met Mike, and we did a fundraiser for a searcher that had lost her home in the California wildfires. So after that, Mike's like, I play poker. Why don't we just go get some chips? We went to Walmart, got some chips. We went to the Hilton, and we took over their big table, and we did what we called the first annual World Series of Fen. And it was 16 people, and somebody won. I gave $100 bill. Forrest signed it. And it was great. Well, one of the poopy butts is what I call them, turned us into the New Mexico Gaming Board for illegal gambling. So we had to move it to, they're just stinkers. This is why we can't have nice things, but it actually gave the opportunity. I lived in North Carolina, but I would fly in, and we started the World Series of Fen for 5 more years. That was 2019 through 2024. It was it was a poker tournament, but it turned into this whole weekend of drinking, gambling, having fun, mostly socializing, just getting to know people. They become best friends and all that. Well, last year, you guys knew what happened, or this year, I should say, just 2 months ago, we had Andrew, Mr. 8K, just say, I'll sponsor and food, drink, everything. And we thought, are we going to get anybody to want to come and speak? Oh, we had 20 people apply. It was like, oh, there's a real need for this. And then we sell out, or almost sold out. We sold out of our pre-tickets first day within 24 hours.
So it was awesome. Go. So here we are. We started
sold out, no tickets.
Go, but you had no tickets. We would have been there.
Yeah. Well,
they were like, hi, we're strangers. Hi.
There was about half were strangers, half were not. I make sure to go around and meet everybody. But so a lot of people say, oh, you got rid of the World Series of Fen. No, World Series of Fen always happens. That is the poker tournament signature event. And then we now have the conference. So we usually do the poker tournament on Friday night, and then we do the conference on Saturday. We had so much interest, we may go to a 2-day conference, or we may go to a full day conference.
Or biannually, 2 times a year.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people.
With all your free time.
I know, but a lot of people, like right now, I'm getting pressed right now to try to find out when it is. Because one, a huge portion of our treasure hunters are dedicated, but they couldn't afford 2 trips, and they can't get off work twice. And I don't want them to miss out. Right. So we were thinking of one like later this summer because of Justin's, but I think we're going to just wait and keep it annual. There'll be other events that pop up. Like we've done searcher meetups I used to live in Raleigh, North Carolina. We did a searcher meetup there. We've done one in Detroit. We have done several up in Wyoming. There was one in Colorado. There was one in Texas. So when we go boots on the ground, we'll say anyone that wants to come. And it turns out usually there's at least 20 people that show up, and then we socialize and have a good time. So, yeah.
Well, always tell us when you're going boots on the ground. We'll be like, what? I'll be like, hey, Jam, can you go? I'm going to book a ticket. I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
I'm always flying in with my Sky. I have my Starlink because I'm like, as long as I can, like, if I'm working, as long as I can keep doing my job while I'm doing other things, I will make it happen. Like, whatever it takes. This is so much fun. That's the thing I hope for people. And I think that you guys are like this. I will not allow people to suck the fun from this for me. I just won't do it. It's my choice. I choose to find the good because I can find the bad. It's not hard. It's always right there, lurking. It was lurking in the dark last night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I love how you're like, I refuse to engage with the darkness. I choose the light. And we're in.
But it took years to, I first would say, okay, I'll watch, but I won't say anything because I want to know what's being said. And then it does affect me. Mike can watch or see or read all the negative, especially the negative channels and groups that are out there. Yeah. And he can compartmentalize and just go, who cares? Once I see it, it's like, I don't know if you watch any of the Harry Potter series. It's like having the Horcrux around your neck. It just brings me down. So it's never ending. No matter some people, that's their endorphins. That's what gets them going, is that negative conflict, and it never ends. That is their world and their life. And I just, they can do what they want, but they don't get my time.
Yeah.
So,
you know what they get? They're going to get my prayers.
Yeah. That's the thing too, is people are frustrated. They are frustrated at the ending of this. You know, anytime that you put so much time and energy, I understand the frustration, but you got to flip it. You got to live in positivity, because if you're living in negativity and constantly being upset or worried or I'm right, you know, if you do that, you're just going to be miserable. You just got to let it go, move forward, and try to have fun in life. You know,
and what you look for,
it.
You find.
It's funny, in 2019 is when it really got the worst I've ever seen it from a negative space. And Mike did a video. I didn't know. All of a sudden he went on live and he knew I was really upset. There was a lot of drama and chaos. And his catchphrase, and he kept repeating it, is positive always triumphs over negativity. Positivity always triumphs over negativity. Yeah. And that was my signature on Thor for years. So it's just, and we slip up and we have our issues, and of course we're human, but for the most part, this should always be a hobby. This should not be a way you're going to pay your mortgage, get out of your situation, get out of your circumstance. So it can't be that overpowering to your life. It was devastating to me, but it wasn't devastating like, I lost my house, I lost my job, I lost my kids. It just was, I'm going to find those answers. And I went to the court case for McCracken, and I did FOIA things, and I did want to know the answers. So you can be passionate, but not obsessive.
Right. Yeah. Well, like treasure hunters, I'm sorry, Jen, we just are so excited to hear KPro.
I know.
We're like, yay! But treasure hunters are competitive in nature. Like, we all want to win. Nobody signs up to find treasure passively, right? Or if you do, you're really probably not boots on the ground. You might just be like a couch warrior. And that's, hey, send us your clues. But you've got a competitive group of people here who all want to win. After 10 years, I cannot fathom the buildup that came with that for people. And you saw it when I was watching. It was either 48 Hours or the New Yorker. And they were talking about, and then we got the email and it was found. And you just see this look, this depth of just almost, it was devastating to them. Like it was an era had ended. Right.
Oh, when I got the email, we went on live and we had at least 30 people on our panel. We just rotated all night. I mean, some people were literally suicidal, but I remember when I got the email, and I've gotten them before because people, the stinky butts, try to spoof Forrest and say it was found. So I got the email that said it was found from Forrest. And he's always told me, when you get one of those, close the email, make a new email with my address. So I did exactly what he said. I emailed him back and he said, yes, it is true. Well, then we go on live, and there were several searchers, but one in particular that's like, I don't believe it unless you call him and ask him. Now, he'd given me his phone number, but he said only call if there's a significant emergency. And I thought, this searcher is struggling. Everyone was struggling. I was like, okay. So in the middle of live, I stand, he's an hour into calling it. And I know he was overwhelmed, but I called him and I said, can you tell me what's going on? And we talked for about, 10, 20 minutes. It wasn't super long. Thank goodness I got that much time. But he just said, calm everyone down. It's okay. I'm going to have more information in the future. Because that's all we got was like, it was found under a canopy of stars, but there was no solve, no information, no nothing. That was on a Saturday night at 7:30. By Monday morning, a lawsuit had been filed. And that's what got crazy. So,
I'm sure. Well, and that's part of it.
Here's the best part about this treasure hunt. If a box is found, there's 4 other boxes, and there's the map's edge, and there's so many treasure hunts now.
I just bought something in Texas. I bought something else somewhere else. All the places. You want to hunt treasure? There's more treasures out there.
There is so much treasure out there. This is the time to be a treasure hunter, and it's while it's frustrating, it's upsetting. Don't let it get to you. Go to find the next one, because obviously you were close. I would have never thought brown was the name of a fish. So that was not on my theories. So
and I think too, and I wonder if you think this, I feel like almost we're maybe overcomplicating things. When I think in TTI, I think we're overcomplicating things right now. Like some of the things I mean, when I left California, I always get the Wi-Fi because I can't sit there quietly. I think you can understand that. I can't sit there quietly. So I'm like, I pulled open, you've got your paper version of the book. You've got your electronic versions of the book. We've got our books all on hand, right? And I read a chapter. I read something that I had read 50, 60 times. And I went, wait a minute. And I'm blowing him up. It's like maybe 7:45 in the morning. I'm like, you need to wake your buns up. I have a thought. We need to talk about it right now. Yeah. And it's like, I realize, I feel like maybe we've really overcomplicated some stuff here. Yep. And the word salad is word salad because we keep tossing it.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to just calm back down. Read the book. The very
well,
first
there's 3 or 4 times now since I started the word search in past and future only that I have literally walked away and said, I'm not opening that book or looking at a word search for a week. Yeah. And it helps so much. I mean, once you get away from it, then when you come back to it, you've almost forgotten. We were in Speakeasy last night and someone was like, well, what's your solve to Van Sickle and XYZ? And I haven't picked it up in about a week's time. I couldn't remember. Was that the 5x2 or the 4 corners or the, and they're like, how do you not know the solve? That's what you found the foundation of. I'm like, I won't get my PowerPoint out. I'm not getting my PowerPoint out. So
You're on a break.
Yeah.
If you want to know, get on my video.
Yo, that's what I said. I said, if you watch it, you're like, yeah, but you've invented Tahoe and it's not Tahoe and you need to understand. I'm like, that's okay for you not be Tahoe. And I'm not trying to convince anyone to Tahoe. I just shared some stuff.
We don't ever want to be involved in anything to do with legally again. Because what we said about the NPS, I'm pretty sure some people hate my guts right now. And all I can think
they're not happy.
I made some phone calls for us, for Treasure Hunt with us.
What are they upset
phone calls.
What are they upset about?
I ruined their solve.
Well, they want to be on the Buffalo National River, so do we. We love the Buffalo National River.
I would love to be on the Buffalo National River.
And it's an NPS site, and NPS specifically said you are not allowed to leave a treasure here. It will be considered abandoned property. And if you
exactly what happened to Forrest of being brought up on charges, and both of them brought up on charges, and the treasure chest almost confiscated. Yeah, that would be a thing. Now, here, the only caveat I'm going to give is when John was asked, is it in a legal spot? He was asked by D-Money on episode 4. He said, I talked with some lawyers. He didn't go as far as to say I ensured it was on legal property.
Right.
I'm assuming yes, but he didn't explicitly say it that way. Justin has explicitly said it.
Oh, I know. I love that. I mean, I can't wait to thank him for that when I finally get to interview you, Justin. Can't wait.
But, people will still think it's on a if they think it's there, they won't care. And that's the thing is, we don't want to discourage anyone. Go out there, look where you want to look and stuff. But here I have some information, and if I don't give it to you, what am I doing? Of course I have to share.
You as a creator, a tuber, we wear 2 hats. I wear the hat of here's information I want the whole community to have that's appropriate for everyone. National park regulations. If John puts out a new interview and we want to talk about it, etc. Then our other hat is searcher. And that's a hard one because I divide mine in 2. Me as searcher that I'm willing to share, and me as searcher that I'm not willing to share. Well, some people take the share parts and say, you're judging me and it's not in Tahoe because my solve is wherever and I'm now upset at you. And I say, but it's okay because I'm not trying to persuade you. I'm trying to show you a thought process. And then the people, and I have many of them, which I now am a little bit less forgiving. I tell them just to go away when they say, but you haven't shared everything. Why aren't you sharing everything? Because there's only one box and I'm trying to know. I think I've shared.
Why haven't you given me your exact location?
Yeah, I think I've shared a lot.
Email me where to go.
You've shared so much.
You do share a lot. So. Your whole take a penny, give a penny. Yours is like take 1 penny, give $40 is what you do.
Yeah, and people have loved that. They'll say, a lot of emails I get say, here's my penny. And it's like, cool. And only like in 1 or 2 cases, someone said, can you give me something you haven't shared? And I say, yes, but I want something in return. Or I used to do this. And then they're like, okay, you first. And so I share it. And then they come back and say, well, that wasn't really good. So I'm not going to share my stuff. So I've just decided I'm sharing with everyone or I'm sharing with no one.
Well, I always love too is where they go, if you give me something, I'll give you something. And then they give you something that everybody knows. It's like lilac is in the word search. No, thanks. I appreciate that. Lilac? I didn't see it because it was backwards. Or good.
All that time, it was right there in front of all of us. But it's interesting. So I suspect that because, we put our show out, you put your show out, a lot of people reach out, they want to work with you. And it's like, do not tell me your solve. I say this all the time. I don't want to know your solve. Don't tell me your solve. I don't want to hear your solve. I'm grateful you have a solve. I'm so proud of you for having a solve. Don't tell me your solve.
Yeah, we can discuss stuff.
Yeah.
We'll discuss stuff,
we
but
go
don't
the
tell
other
me your
way.
exact solve.
Or I'll say in a couple of cases, and they've already burned Mike. Mike is my gate. So I say, if you can convince Mike it's a good enough solve, I'll go to New York. I'll go to Florida. But to get through Mike, and really, I have this polarizing personality, but for the most part, everyone loves Mike and trusts Mike. They know Mike's not going to screw them over.
He's got the face.
Some people have wanted signing an NDA and sort of things. I never would. I think Mike did in one case a couple years ago on or maybe it was, I don't know when. I think he signed one time, one thing. He doesn't want to sign. You don't want to get into, you either trust or don't. And so, and I, again, appreciate when someone said, I said, you can share everything if it's not in Tahoe. If it's in Tahoe, I don't want you to tell me everything because I'm not partnering. But the one that I think is funny is I get this usually from time to time. Here, I'm sending you my solve. Here it is. We are now search partners. It's like, whoa. Like I stopped reading at that point and I shut it down because to enter into contract takes both ways and you can't just opt me in kind of thing. So but people are just excited about it. So yeah.
I think people want to share.
People.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my gosh, I just had a really good question and it just was like, I've been up since about 4:30.
You said I'm excited for people.
I am excited for people. That's true. I'm excited for people, but it was God, I can't remember. It's gonna come back to me. Go ahead and talk amongst yourselves. It'll come back when it's ready.
Yes. So go back to the Forrest Fenn and your solve that
He's just all about this box. He just cares about this box.
This is what we're talking. We're just diving in.
It's true.
Your 18-month solve, and then you got told it was wrong.
Right.
Like, did you believe it? What was it? I mean,
the good thing was Cynthia was there. So Forrest said, I rarely talk to him about my actual solves. Mm-hmm. I had 3 solves over 5, 6, 7 years, or 5 years, whatever it was. And he said, what's your solve? And I said, Nez Perce. And he said, Nez Perce what? And I looked at him, I said, what do you mean? He goes, trail or Indians, or I said, oh, the Nez Perce battles. Mm-hmm. And there was 9 of them. And I thought each clue was one of the battles. And he's like, so what's your WWWH? And I forgot the name. It's like Walla Wildlife Habitat. And that's where the son left his father in the grave and then went through this battle. And he goes, but then what's your canyon down? And I said, well, the first battle was I don't even recall all the details now. I had books at a time. This was this battle, and they actually were in the canyon when they took their first shot. And he goes, but your WWWH and your canyon, those are miles apart. And I said, right. I said, but it's all on the Nez Perce Trail. And he always gave me a hard time because he did not like educated people. He always said PhDs are judgmental, etc. So he always gave me a hard time about it. He's like, you're a PhD. You know what contiguous means, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, right. It means touching. It means, he goes, right. So again, your WWWH and Canyon don't touch. And I said, well, what do you think? And he goes, I guess you get to do what you want. And then he went on to some other subject. So as we're leaving for the day, and I'm looking at Cynthia and her eyes are this big, and we're walking out, and I just remember I'm getting to his front door, and we're walking out, and I said, did he just tell me my solve was wrong? She goes, he couldn't have been more clear. I was questioning it in my mind. Like, did I remember, like, was he playing with me? She's like, he said it. He said it so many different ways. I said, okay. Yeah. Then this was interesting, and I told people at the time, but it sounds kind of shocking. So towards the end of 2019, Forrest was trying to get some of the people that were more desperate to stop searching, to stop being kind of in that desperate state. Like if you can't afford to go out, don't, etc.
Right.
He had one particular searcher emailing him all the time. And I said, this person really thinks they have it. Why don't you just tell them not to? They are destroying their lives. And he's like, I've tried. And I'm like, try harder. I said, just say it. He goes, great. Come over to my email. Sit down. And we have a picture of this. It's terrible. Well, now it can come out because it's years later. I sat down. The email came. I went again, boots on the ground today. I haven't been able to make my rent, but I'm going to find it. It's at this location. He's like, that person is wrong. He goes, tell them. I said, okay. I asked Forrest. I draft the email. I say, such and such. You are not in the right location. You need to stop searching. You're in the wrong location. It's not there. The treasure is not there. I said it 10 different ways.
Yeah.
And he's like, you'll see. And I went, okay.
So you'll see.
We're chatting for a minute. Ding. And I look over and he goes, open it. Oh, Forrest, I know you're just being funny with me. You know I have the right location and I'm going back out tomorrow. And he goes, what can you do? And if I wouldn't have drafted it myself, I would have thought I drafted it myself, and they just would not stop searching. So I didn't want to be that person. So when I walked out with Cynthia, I said, 18 months of work, 18 months of work. And she said, you got to let it go. I said,
you can't be married to it. You can't be married to it.
Exactly.
When our very first boots on the ground, my arrogance, and I'll just own it, my arrogance. I'm like, oh my gosh, Hemden Hollow. There's that Granny Henderson's cabin is fantastic, and it's all the clues fit, literally everyone fit that location. We show up there, and when I say we trumped through that woman's yard, I mean, he didn't flip over every rock, but he definitely looked under them at least. And I mean, in my video, you see my Scott just sitting there tearing through things. I'm like, it's not in a house, it's not inside a building. He's like, I've got to see what's in here. And it's like, he goes upstairs. I'm like, it looks condemned, and he's inside this building. And it wasn't there. And then we were kind of lost, and we had a 7-mile hike out.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how am I going to look for 5 boxes when it's this devastating? And I told myself in that moment of like treacherous pain. It was the first hike I'd ever done that wasn't completely flat. And it was so cold and my muscles were cramping. It was miserable. And I told myself, I will never be married to a solve. I will never be married to a solve. And I will recognize when it's time to shift gears. And that's an advantage because we work as a team, he and I, and our whole team. But I think that that's what kind of hurts people who work alone is you have to become married to it. Nobody's being your sounding board.
Yeah, nobody's saying move off.
When people email me and they say, I don't have anyone else, would you partner with me, etc., I will say 90% of the time I just say no. And we still converse, and there's such a large community. But in one case it was, you're not answering me, and why not? I don't get to all my email. I am more terrible. Mike is better at it than me. I can't keep up with emails. I used to get, like, it's now surged again. I probably get 10 to 20 a day. And if I don't catch up on it, and especially the ones that then email an hour later and email about, I can't keep up with that. So I just tell everybody, I appreciate you, but when life and kids and all that happens, it takes it goes on the back burner. And I have my own solve, and I have my own, myself.
You're also a treasure hunter.
Yeah.
Right. And you run the risk because you're so open and you're so giving of your information. You run the risk of being sued immediately when you find one. Immediately. Okay, just
or someone saying, I sent you that email that said it was in
You got there because that's my biggest fear.
That's
my biggest fear. And I will tell you that, like, I'm always like, we need to document so much stuff because I think no matter what, whoever finds that first box is going to get sued. I mean, and that's just a sad state of affairs, but all you can do is protect yourself and protect your information. And that's why sometimes I'm really okay with giving some of our information away, and sometimes we hold a little bit of it back, or we give it after we've looked at it.
Right.
I just saw that it's an hour and 12 minutes in. We've kept you longer than is fair. I've got one last question because I feel like you're the Yoda of treasure hunting. So, do you think that Justin launching his hunt could potentially change the way JCB has decided to interact with our community? Because I think Justin's more open to interacting because that's what he knew with Forrest Fenn.
Well, I think D-Money has already said that John has changed his ways. He goes, he used the word bullshit. He goes, it was bullshit. He wasn't going to drop the box. So I think he's already looking at starting to collaborate, because I asked about collaborations. He's talking about doing a book signing with Books A Million. That was what that collaboration is.
Right.
I'm going to bucket that for a second. I am hoping with Justin's responses and how fast he responds to getting that errata list up, being responsive when the search community, it's not just about selling the book, it's about the experience of errors in the books and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
I am hoping John takes a page from Justin. Now, Justin's hasn't even launched yet, so I know I'm giving, and I'm the first to say, you guys probably don't know the back history. Justin and I have had some challenges. We've had some ups and downs. We were not as friendly at a time. We've put all that in the past. So I was going to be critical if I needed to be, and I wouldn't hesitate in doing so.
I suspect you wouldn't expect anything different because you're very real.
He kind of knows me, and yes. And so I think, but I have he has handled things so well. Books went out early due to Amazon. He announced it to all of us that it was happening. It was only a few days early. It was updated today. I don't know if you were in on the show that Mike brought up the Bitcoin wallet, and then Dave donated accidentally to the website.
Yes.
He has changed the website to a different Bitcoin one that didn't have a donation button at the bottom. He put out an errata list within a half an hour of Froggy's. So I don't think it needs to be done in a half an hour for John, but it should be done within the first 6 months. Yeah. I mean, I hope he takes a page from all of that personally for hunt management. Because I think John has had that he still has that stinking regional map up. It bugs me every time I watch that promotional video.
Unless it's real.
He said it wasn't, though, in an interview.
He has to say it's not real, because if we find the past and future box in Tahoe, that means that the only place the Forrest Fenn box can be in is New Mexico. So.
Well, no, but I think he was saying there might be regions, but it's not exactly on those state borders. Then take down, because you have to go into some random interview that may or may not be on his website. Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Right. It's so crazy.
So, and again, that doesn't make it terrible enough. I'm not saying that he's an evil person that deserves to go to prison. I'm saying there could be some little tweaks that really could make your customers have a delightful experience.
I think he's open to hearing all the things, like everything that I mean, like you, I've watched hours and hours of video. I think he's completely open to both the positive and the negative, because it is a piece of art that is in the works. It's in a process. And I think he's open to hearing it, because he handles critique. He's in the entertainment industry. He was, he was a musician. He can take the good with the bad. I think that he hears what you're saying when he's watching your videos. And I absolutely think he watches a lot of videos or has people watching videos. And I think he's open to making sure. I'm going to be really interested to see if he makes adjustments, because I think that Justin has so openly been available. And I do hope John comes on our show. We've got different questions than everybody's asked. I hope Justin comes on our show, but don't put lasers in my eyes, because I'll be like, you're right, I do love Star Wars. I
didn't even know that technology existed, let alone the human being that is smart enough to be able to write the code to do that. When he said that, and Forrest definitely didn't know. So he was really worried about, there's others like me that are tech savvy that could do like that map and things. I'm like, and then when he said X-ray vision in the preview for Netflix, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm still hunting all the previews. I'm like checking everywhere. If I go to somebody's house, I'm like, oh, can you mind if I check your Netflix?
Yeah, there's 9 or 10. We can't.
I only got the Hearst one, so.
I have 3 different ones. 2 of them you had, the one of them you didn't. And then I checked my in-laws this morning, and they have
you seen Justin's?
I haven't seen Justin's.
Oh, it's so good. Now that you know that there's hints in Netflix, when you see Justin's, it starts with him standing up at his command center, walking around and adjusting the clock hands. Then he comes back and sits down and goes, okay, I'm ready. And I thought, why would you put that in there? It's totally a hint. It's totally a hint.
Is it on time zone right now?
He's changing the time zone.
I don't think it's in Discord, but it's the one that came up for me. So we just got struck.
How many hours did he move it?
I don't know. That's what I need to go back and see the whole time, or what.
He's like, hold on, I'm not in Central Time Zone. Boom.
Yeah, like
what
I
did you
moved
get struck
it
with, though?
42 degrees. Yeah, we got in trouble our last video because we published copyrighted material because we played those previews. So we're just going to put them in Discord now rather than get into trouble, because if you get 3 strikes in a month, you can have your channel taken down, which we have had happen before. So
really?
We should really know these rules. We should really know.
Yeah, but it was a searcher issue. The searcher was being a stinky butt. So it worked out. But
it's really sad. It's sad that when people pee in the pool. It's sad when people pee in the pool.
This is why we can't have nice things. One bad apple steals the whole fun.
Sometimes you have to pee, though. Sometimes you have to pee. You don't want to get out. You're having fun.
And have the freaking pool.
Never.
I grew up with you. This is horrifying. I think of all the times I've been in pools.
There's actually a song, Please Don't Pee in the Pool. It's just not right. It's just not cool.
It's not cool.
So, it's hilarious. I sing that to my brother all the time.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Nice.
KPro, we're so grateful for your time. We took way longer than we thought it, but
No, that's
thought we
fine.
would. But it's been a joy. You've been fantastic. I hope
Very
you'll come on
fantastic.
again when you find a box. Come,
Oh,
come be on our
Yes.
show. We've got a million questions for you.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can collaborate about information in the future as we continue to work through books. We loved being on your panel.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. You guys asked great questions and it was thoughtful. Like it was thoughtful and thought provoking for me. I've watched it twice because, not just because we're in it. But because I'm a
watching
little
me.
upset. It's Jam. I just can't wait to watch more videos with Jam. No, but Coy, I have to tell you, Coy is
Yeah.
fantastic and he thinks so different than how we think. He's just like, no, it's logic. I'm like, wait, logic?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
optional.
It's
Well,
amazing
and
how
that's
people
what we're
think.
thinking of back in the day. I feel really old saying that, but back in the day, once a month, we used to have panels, and the panels would come on and do exactly what you saw. And then every 6 months, we would do a marathon. It's literally, we would have to stop it at 12 hours because YouTube doesn't allow longer than a 12-hour stream without cutting off the chat. We learned that because one went too long. We
That's
would
crazy.
schedule about 11 hours. Some people would go over, but you could apply for like a 15-minute time of I want to share my solve, or somebody did a how do you stay safe, boots on the ground, like just some basic stuff. Some people had themes. I only want to talk about Colorado. So we had 3 Colorado searchers on one panel. So we're thinking when things really get going with Justin's to do that. John's is a little bit more disjointed because there's 5 different hunts, but we could almost do a panel and do 1 hour on each box and bring the experts of that box on. So that's a possibility. We're kicking around the idea, and people we would get 10,000 views on these marathons because people would pop in and out. They would be able to come back later. There would be at least 20 to 30 different people. So we could have a cipher session. Some people like me would not even watch that.
I would.
But some people would
I was like, I'm in.
I love the ciphers. I love the word search.
Well, I would say most people watch everything because they're dedicated, like of our core group. Some people would just want the theme, but we would publish the schedule beforehand. It was all day long on Saturday, which is just funny. It's like, what are you doing on a Saturday? Oh, I'm holding a treasure hunting. It's almost like a mini conference, if you will.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to do that again. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
It does sound fun.
It's been probably, I think the last big marathon we did was 2019 before the Forrest Fenn one was found. We haven't done one since then.
Well, the reality is this is new. TTI is fresh. This is all kind of a rebirth of the treasure hunting world.
I need to ask Mike. We need to do one. Maybe we do one on both. Yeah, we need to do one and create the themes and have the bucket list. And then we had a call-in time. And then we had giveaways that we did throughout. And we've ordered an extra Justin book. Yeah, okay. It might be time. Well, and reaction to Netflix. Okay, it's time.
Yes, it's time.
We've said it.
Yes.
We've said it.
Oh my God.
It's so big right now.
News on this channel.
Where's Mike and my soundboard?
Soundboard.
I need Mike right now.
I bought that for him, and I sometimes regret it.
I love it. Why? It's great. All the guys love the soundboard.
So a Gypsy's Kiss had the same soundboard. So I got it from Mike, and all it had was the breaking news and those. And I remember the first one where Mike's like, I figured out, and I think it was like, he has a head like a chicken or something silly. And I looked at him and I thought, that's kind of funny. And then he went too far. This was maybe 2 years ago. There was some, they were naughty. And they were all like 13-year-old giggly boy. Like,
no, last night
like
you couldn't talk.
Well,
you couldn't talk
so
last
bad.
night where you didn't bring it.
And so I put
hilarious, like so innocent.
Well, Cynthia always says to me, the reason the soundboard is so funny is we can tell you're mad, but you're trying not to be. Right. And Mike thinking just purely he's a 13-year-old boy and he giggles to it. She's like, that combination. She's like, if you could mask it better, it'd be great. If Mike couldn't laugh so hard at being 13 and giggling, either way, it's ridiculous. And the ridiculous of both of you being married and together. She's like, it every time. And I'm like, okay, I guess for the people, but yeah, no, there is a folder.
We're entertained. You can entertain us.
That folder is off limits. If he would have won the bet, I was going to let him do one of them, but I won the bet.
You won the bet.
You won the bet. I was there when you made the bet.
You're
And
two
clearly
for
won the
two.
bet.
Like I said, your new nickname's Yoda for me. So,
okay.
well, thank you so much for your time
Yes,
today.
for
We
sure.
appreciate it. We're here for anything you've got. If you need anything from us, but again, thank you so much for doing all you do for all of us treasure hunters out there.
Every treasure hunter, every YouTube site, you promote the unofficial podcast,
Yep.
Foggy. You just help everybody out. We're
The
so
more
appreciative.
good people, the better. You guys are doing good things. Thanks for having me. I won't say I'm a Yoda, but I'm definitely a supporter of all positive things.
You don't have
Love
to
it.
say you're a Yoda. I'll say it for you.
Yes.
Don't worry. We'll see you soon. Thank you again so much for coming, and we'll get this up as fast as possible, everybody.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks.